Ladies and gentlemen, big hairy news. Big hairy news.
Hey, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another edition of the Big Hairy News. Kia ora Chewy, kia ora Emily.
Hello.
Kia ora, Pat.
Hello. How is everyone tonight? Oh, Emily, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, good. People might be looking at it and going, oh, there's someone else in the screen.
We've added a talking head.
Yes. Emily is a friend of the show, and she's decided to jump in with us tonight and have a bit of a chat about the stories we're having a bit of a chat about. And I don't know if the tone in your room is supposed to kind of vibe pink, but there is sort of a pink, it looks like a soft lighting pink in the background.
Do I need to change it slightly? I can
No.
give you purple,
Oh,
blue.
okay. Chewy's in
I
charge
can
of
give you
colours.
green.
What do you think,
I
Chewy?
can see if I can find red, but it might be really intense.
The red
I'll
light
just get
district.
anesthesia while I figure this out. Yeah, I'm gonna have pink, more pink. There you go.
That's
more
cool,
pink now.
man. Oh, there you go. Hey, yeah, so welcome to come and hang out with us for the night. For people who don't know, Emily is a friend of the show. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, your elevator pitch, as they say, with what you're all about.
Me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I do
Thanks.
stuff online. I do lots of designery stuff. Do lots of a bit of illustration, bit of here and there. Do some
Yep.
gaming streaming online, and yeah, I like talk about politics and the news. So
Yeah.
I feel like this is the right place for me to be.
And
So,
look already.
Are you like me when you've got friends around and that sort of thing, and all of your friends are just desperate to keep you away from talking about politics, like anything else?
It's more so like I try and, especially if it's new people, I try and plant seeds and figure out which side of the spectrum they're on. And then as soon as I know where their beliefs are, I just go straight in and I'm like, oh my God, let me tell you about what's going on. And they're like, yep, this is the conversation I want. Like, you know, what's the thing about you don't talk about religion, politics, or whatever the other one is?
Yeah.
I think it's something or other, but I'm just like, nah, it's all on the table. Let's talk.
There's like there used to be an adage in television that you never work with children and puppets, and of course Jim Henson blew that out of the water completely with Sesame Street, one of the most successful things that's ever been made. So go against the flow, I say. What did I just see? I saw something in the chat that lots of people saying hello. Gamer lists. Oh my God, that's Emily Pogg. So is that a little nod to you? You know what's going on with that?
Yeah.
So very good. And there was one very important question from Baba. Can she grow a beard? This is the question.
Hang on. I can do like a hair moustache. Does that count?
Good enough.
Perfect.
Good enough. Buddy.
And look, we've already had a look at this and it's amazing. Do you want to share because you said you do some stuff online, some design stuff? Show the whānau what you showed us just beforehand. We're going to bring it up. People are aware. Yesterday was our 500th show. Do you know what was funny, Chewy? I hadn't actually put Monday's show into the playlist. So when I put today's into the playlist, it said $4.99. I went, how can it only be maybe tonight? No, just because I'd forgotten to do that one. So this is what Emily showed us just before we got on. You ready, whānau? I think we definitely need to get this up online somewhere. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Pretty cool.
Oh, I love it so much.
That is pretty cool. I think the chat's going to fall in love with you just with that. It's very cool. What do we do with that? That needs to become the Facebook profile for a while, or
Well, I thought you guys still had Twitch, so I was going to make them into like little emotes, but I don't think YouTube you can do emotes with custom stuff like that. Maybe custom stickers.
Sounds like you got some research to do, mate. You can do custom stickers, but you can do custom things. I know that that some American big sort of podcasts, you can get your own emojis and stuff if you become a member. And we're just investigating all that stuff now. So might be good timing. Spam the platform. Brother Mark, always the best information. Chewy, I didn't tell you I was going to talk about this, but I have been this evening sitting down with my fiance. It's the third time I've said that. Planning our North Island trip, because after we get married, we're going to do a full, like right to the top of the North Island and back down again. And the patrons who came to our meetup the other day know this, but others don't. Purely by chance to start off with, we worked out that we'd be up in the far north in the first week of February. And I kind of went, oh, what about being at Waitangi on Waitangi? And that very quickly turned into, oh, maybe we should do a broadcast from Waitangi on Waitangi. And whilst technically I'll still be on my honeymoon, we've been talking with, oh, there you go, T-shirt idea with that graphic, Emily. That's a great idea, actually. Our very good friend Matthew Tukaki from Watia, who has offered us his truck to do a broadcast on Waitangi from Waitangi. And Chewy, if you guys are up for it, I think we should fly you up. And even though technically I'll still be on honeymoon, you should come up to Waitangi and we still broadcast from Waitangi on Waitangi.
So what I'm hearing there, Pat, is that you're turning your honeymoon into a work trip.
Yeah, business expense.
It's a tax write-off.
Yeah, you got it.
And also, just, you know, you're obviously still getting a kick out of saying your fiance. Let me tell you, saying my wife does not get old.
Yeah.
If you can bust it out,
I
during
can
the
attest to
ceremony,
that.
there's bonus points.
Good, good. So it's a bit of a.
I'm amped for that. Like as I've said to you offline, Pat, I've never really been very far north of Auckland.
Yep.
And I think with the amount of time we've spent talking about treaty issues and relations with Māori in this country and that sort of thing, I think I'd love to go to Waitangi. It's so important. So
and I think,
I'm very keen.
I think with the relationships we're building, and to be honest, with a bunch of the people I know, whether it's Alistair Reese, who's been on a few times, you know, Margaret Mutu, who will probably be up there, you know, Matthew Tukaki himself, we may be able to have a pretty wicked show with a bunch of people coming along and doing something with us live up there as well. So what we've got, Whānau, is the seeds of an idea. Look, Free Soul says that she'll come. There you go. Free Soul's in as well. We've got the seeds of an idea. I'll put it out to you because we always tell you guys what's going on. And we'll figure out costs and we'll see how we can do it. And yeah, it's going to be a blast if we can actually pull it off though. So there you go. Merry Christmas, New Zealand. Speaking of costs, let's say a huge thanks to all our lovely patrons. Thanks, patrons. So lovely that you're on board. You help us to do everything we do every single day. And like I said the other night, without you, we probably would have given up after 497. But we've gone past 500 now purely because of the patrons. If you like what we do, if you want to support what we do, if you want to be a part of us, head to patreon.com/big hairy news. I kind of feel like I got to watch my language now with Emily in the room, Chewy. I was going to say something about
that.
No? Okay.
Sorry, my head's pink. Does that count?
Bunch of stuff. Oh, my camera's done it. Look, my camera's going crazy. No. Bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. There we go. Oh, look, I'm in my wide shot again, in my buffer shirt. Bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. But I think what I want to do, the very first thing to do, is something that we talked about last night, just to kind of update where we're at tonight. Hey, Hun, can you do me a favour? My camera is just stopped. Can you zoom it in a bit for me? I've got a friend in the studio who will do some work for me. Just zoom it in. You can have a look down the thing and just see it's a bit wide. See how the shot's a bit wide? And it's on top there at the front. You push. Yep. Let me see. Just look, no hands. Oh, yep, perfect. Right there.
Hey.
Thanks, love. There you go. I don't pay her either. So I want to finish off something we did last night because we put out some opinions. Actually, we didn't put out opinions. We showed people what the opinions were of the people who were involved in this Matthew Hooton Don Brash defamation accusation. And Matthew Hooton has said some more about it today. Chewy sent this to me on Facebook today. So let's have a look, because I'm a boomer and I still use Facebook apparently. Let's have a look at what Matthew Hooton said today. This is not a part of the show. We're going to get on to the show shortly, but just so everybody knows. 4 weeks ago on the working group, says Matthew Hooton, I made certain comments about Dr. Don Brash. These comments were made in discussion with Damien Grant and others about the role of the Treaty of Waitangi in New Zealand, the foreshore and seabed issue, and the advocacy group Hobson's Pledge. In my comments, as Dr. Brash discussed in interviews he gave to the spin-off, I accused Dr. Brash of dishonesty and of advocating his views solely to drive racial division in New Zealand. So he was saying that I accused Dr. Brash of being disingenuous, that he didn't really believe what he was saying. I accept that, in fact, Dr. Brash holds these views sincerely and not for the reasons I gave. I do not agree with Dr. Brash's position on the treaty and related matters. My remarks came as part of a vigorous debate on a subject matter that I am particularly passionate about, as are many New Zealanders, including Dr. Brash. But I accept I was not justified in making and sincerely apologise for those particular statements, which I unreservedly retract. His apology was, this apology was read out on the working group last night. For context, relevant links are in the Patreon version of this apology, accessible through the link. That's clever, eh? Send people to your Patreon, they have to pay to then go see that. See? You see why he can afford lawyers. He knows what he's doing, doesn't he? I don't know if you caught the show last night at all, Emily, but we went through all this and great. Have you been up to play with what's going on here?
Yes,
Got any thoughts
I
around
am.
what
That
you've
was
seen?
my favorite little headline was our first contact with lawyers. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
juicy.
Yeah.
But no, it's
You got any thoughts about it? I mean, about
Robert.
free speech versus, because there is obviously a line with free speech. You can't defame people. And without defaming anyone right now, you got any thoughts around that idea and what we had to put up with and what we had to put out there?
I mean, like you said, like the corrupt thing I thought would have pissed him off the most.
Yeah.
But like calling someone a liar or whatever, like people say that shit online all the time. Like if Hassan Piker, for example, says the most absurd stuff, and they have like
Yeah.
great suing laws in America, but like no one's really come after him. So it seems really petty.
Yeah, it does. And you're right. Like the point we made last night, I think very clearly, whilst being careful not to be a part of the accusations that were getting made, was the things that Dr. Brash said he wanted an apology for were all the words in that document around being dishonest. There were some other words in that document, like you're saying, corruption and racist, that he obviously just let go. Now, that's not to say he is those things. That's basically to say, as he said in the document, everyone gets called these, no big deal. But, I thought being called a liar would be like, compared to being called those other words in that document, I'd much rather be called a liar than the other ones. But maybe what it is those are the ones that he could prove in a court of law that were false, and the other ones it's harder. It's a bit more of a, a nuanced sort of conversation.
Or maybe he is corrupt.
Maybe, but we don't think that. We just, honest hell belief.
Yeah, I
and
mean, I
just
don't know.
spitballing. We don't know. Chewy, you've had a day to reflect on it. Any thoughts?
I'm still chuckling about the absolute snookering that is like, yep, okay, I take it back. You're not a liar. You're not lying about being racist. Is just such a good move.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious. I think it just makes Dr. Brash seem really impotent as well. Like I commented last night.
That could be defamatory if you mean it literally. Is that just a euphemism? Just a,
I mean, no, I'm not going to go there, Pat. Not going to go there. Low-hanging fruit, etc., etc. Probably
Being
because of his
baited.
age.
Is that another euphemism? Low-hanging fruit? Are you still, is that a, no? Okay, I'll leave it alone.
We had to take it up with the secretary.
All right.
Yeah, like the contrast between Brash's reaction to something like that and Seymour's, which we also commented on last night, I think is a night and day difference.
Yeah.
Like he could have just brushed it off and carried on, and the only people that would know about it are the people that watch this show and watch the working group, and that's it.
And perhaps who watch or listen to RNZ, because I think we're on midweek Media Watch tonight. They're using some of our stuff I've heard through the grapevine. And can I just say, whilst you're sort of got your tongue in your cheek there, just for clarity, he wasn't saying I wasn't lying about being racist. He was saying that I have honest held beliefs and I believe these things. I think you've put a little two and two together there. That's not exactly what Dr. Brash was saying. He was saying, because Matthew Hooton was basically saying these things he believes about things like Hobson's pledge, that Hobson said under his breath, we are one people. He doesn't really believe those things, whereas Dr. Brash is saying, yes, I believe those things. So that's just for clarity for everyone, so we don't get a letter. That's more what he was saying. He's not just bullshitting, is what he said. Anyway, hey, we played a little video last night of a little song. I'm not going to play it again, but about cats and dogs being eaten. And I jokingly said we better talk over this so we don't get demonetized. We got demonetized. Chewy, I'm sorry, that $21 for that video is not going to come through. So we're poor this month. I know. And I really, really, really wanted to show you something from last week tonight, because there was a very good part of the episode this week where they talked about that exact thing, the dogs eating cats. But because I don't really just want to get another strike or get cut off or anything, what I've done is I've gone through and found a few articles that are talking about what was talked about. So it's kind of secondhand, but it's got the script in it, because this cats and dogs thing in America, you guys can tell me what you think. But the vibe I got was, well, the first thing we all thought was it came from Laura Loomer, right? That's what everyone thought. But the second thing we thought we heard was JD Vance saying, there's so many people who are my constituents phoning me about this. I'm just reporting what they're saying. Is that the vibe that you two guys have got around where this has come from?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the reason this was so good, and if you can go and see last week tonight, go and see it, is apparently that's not where it came from, right? Apparently it came from JD Vance. He was the source somewhat of it, and then it expanded out. Yeah. Now there's a bit of reading here, guys. Gosh, I've got my wrong glasses on again. I should do this to start with. There we go. So this is a bit of a transcript and an explanation of what was on the video last week tonight. So Oliver's just basically said the debate between Trump and Harris was a week and a half ago. Last week we weren't here because we were winning Emmys. And then he says, but I still want to talk about this, about both, because the chaos Trump stirred up in Springfield is ongoing and because it feels emblematic of his campaign. He said, noting that, quote, city officials insist there is no evidence of what Trump confidently spewed to 67 million people. That was how many viewers. It was much more than that, actually, because that's American viewers who are watching live, not including who watched it on demand and not including who watched it around the world. Oliver noted that Trump was actually repeating a claim previously made by JD Vance, his vice president running mate. Oliver showed a September 9th tweet from Vance that reads, months ago, I raised the issue of Haitian illegal immigrants draining social services and generally causing chaos all over Springfield, Ohio. Reports now show that people have had their pets abducted and eaten by people who shouldn't be in this country. Where's our border czar? And there's the tweet itself. So that was the actual breaking of that information. Oliver continued to criticize Vance, who, when asked about the post, quote, had insisted he was just reflecting people's concerns, end quote. He played a clip of Vance saying, the media has tried to say now for days that I've made up this story. I haven't made up anything. I've just listened to people who are telling me these things. Quipped Oliver, wait, if enough people say it, I repeat it? It's not ideal when an aspiring vice president's guiding philosophy is indistinguishable from being a fucking parrot. Now, this group here, Hollywood Reporter, stopped their report there. And I was like, this is not the most important part. So I actually went and found another site to keep going. This is now on salon.com. Far from just repeating the claims he heard, Vance had actually helped create much of the chaos he is now trying to exploit, Oliver said. Oliver pointed out that the issue arose when Springfield city officials sent a letter to the U.S. State Senate Committee on Banking, Housing and Urban Affairs. This committee just happened to be one that Vance sits on. The letter asked for federal funding to support local programs to alleviate a significant housing crisis and additional services for the Haitians who have moved to Springfield. However, many have stated that businesses in Springfield have recruited many Haitian migrants to hire them in jobs that locals weren't filling. That didn't stop people like Vance from spreading misinformation about the letter, painting the city officials' claims as an unmanageable migrant crisis instead of a housing one. Oliver then played a clip of Vance mispronouncing Haiti as he fanned the flame of an ongoing migrant crisis in Ohio. I guess we now know it is a mistake to expect precise wording from Vance when it comes to anything Haitian related, Oliver joked using Vance's pronunciation flub. First, First, there is only one Haiti-related mispronunciation we recognise in this house, and it's Alicia Silverstone in Clueless delivering the iconic line. And so if the government could just get to the kitchen, rearrange some things, we could certainly party with the Haitians. By July, the damage had been done with Vance's spread of misinformation, and the claims spread to Fox News and to X, and even Elon Musk tweeting about Springfield. It even led to a neo-Nazi group marching through the town with swastika banners. One more from this first. One more. It's really important to hear the last line of this first paragraph, and I'll highlight it a couple of times. This pet eating panic was built on nothing, Oliver said, but Oliver found that Vance had verified the veracity of claims. Here's the thing, he did check. It turns out that not long after his first post about Haitians eating pets, his campaign actually called the Springfield city manager, who remembers Vance's staff, right? So this is the campaign phoning, and the people in the city remember there'd been a phone call earlier from Vance's staff, asked point blank, are the rumours true of pets being taken and eating? Person in the city said, I told him no. So therefore, Vance's team, his like city team, not his campaign team, had already phoned earlier. And when they phoned earlier, weeks, months before, whatever it was, the response was, I told him no. He spread it anyway. I continue and finish. So Vance knew it was a lie this whole time, but instead of just admitting that, he and his campaign have been scrambling to dig up new bullshit evidence, all of which either bears no resemblance to the claims he's made or falls apart at the slightest scrutiny. Now, that's a lot of reading from me, but I think it's a really interesting story. They used to say of Fox News, the morning show would report something extreme. And then the afternoon shows would go, some places are reporting, and it was the morning show of the same network. That's how they'd get away with saying some places are reporting. It kind of feels the same. Vance tweeted about this. His staff then checked in. The city said, no, it's not happening. He continued to tweet about it. Then his campaign staff said, is this happening? And they say, the last time he phoned us, we told him no. Emily, got any thoughts?
I mean, he basically outed himself not that long ago after Trump was repeating it. There was like an interview with him and a TV presenter who was like, oh, so you made it up, because he was like, oh, this story that like, he outed himself.
Yeah.
He's not very smart, but I guess that's just the whole Trump campaign is a bit like that.
No, you're right. And Chewy, he said something like, I have to make up stories. And I think they're trying to walk that back by saying, no, I meant I have to inform. But yeah, he did say something like, I have to make it up. Chewy, what's your thoughts, sir?
Yeah.
So we've got JD Vance making up just absolute insane racist nonsense. And that's been a story run in the media for weeks. Is it weeks?
Yeah,
it feels like
yeah.
weeks,
Yeah.
months,
Month or
maybe
so.
a year.
Highlighted by the debate, but certainly been around.
And it's taken this long for any media organization to go, yeah, so it's bullshit, and Vance started it. Is that accurate? Because the American media machine can be super fucking aggressive at tearing people apart, but it also seems to be awfully efficient at just sharing nonsense.
Yeah.
Mm.
And amplifying nonsense that had, as you said, literal Nazis waving swastika flags, marching in that town. That is cooked.
It seems to be what happens is I'm doing my Obama thumb. You know how Obama does this? Because
The Obama thumb.
My Obama thumb. There was a report out of America that one of the squad had claimed that a particular, I don't have all the details in my head, sorry, but a particular attorney general was biased because she was Jewish. The Palestinian, is it Ilhan Omar? She's Palestinian. I always get them confused.
No, she's Muslim. She's not Palestinian.
Mm.
I forget the name. You watch how quickly this comes up in the tweet. The name. Someone will help me out. The name of the
live fact checking.
Tlaib. That's it. Rashida Tlaib. And it was reported that Tlaib had said something about this AG, and the reason they were biased was because they were Jewish. And Tlaib had never said that. But what happened was that was reported to CNN, and then CNN announcers started reporting that. No fact checking. And the next day they had to walk her back and said that, yes, she called her biased, but there was no point that she ever brought up her religion. And so now you've got Rashida Tlaib, who was Palestinian, and she's now come under attack because she's been labelled anti-Semitic for something she never said. It's kind of the same, Chewy. The media over there will hear something, someone will say something in an interview, right? And then it's fact. And then the next show will say such and such said it. And then the next show will say such and such said it. And then the next show will say just repeat it as fact then after that. And they had to walk that back a bit. So it's very similar. And just before we go on, this is what you were talking about, Emily, just to let people, if they don't know. In a stunning admission, the Republican vice president candidate, JD Vance, said he was, quote, willing, quote, to create stories, end quote, on the campaign trail while defending his spreading false racist rumors of pets being abducted and eaten in a town in his home state of Ohio. So that's what Emily was referring to if people hadn't seen it. Yeah, so the fact-checking seems to be a thing of the past in American media. Mind you, you can say that about much media around the world as well. Emily, any thoughts?
I think the media machines they're all competing for each other for views, and if you're the first on the story, it doesn't matter if it's true or false. They just want the clicks. They need the clicks. They need the ad revenue, and like they're competing with such a massive beast over there, which makes me feel very lucky that we have a pretty good media here. That when they have breaking news and are exclusive, they actually do a fair amount of research before it even sees the public eye. And a lot of times, I don't think I've seen it ever been misrepresented or even like misinterpreted. Like it's usually pretty true on our end. So yeah, we're pretty lucky. But
the irony is, of course, is we have a pretty good mainstream media, right? Legacy media, and the independent media out there, especially a couple of groups on the other side of the political divide, who are the ones who continually claim that the mainstream media is all bought and paid for by the government, are the ones who don't do the fact checking and are the ones who then spread dis and misinformation whilst they're claiming that the mainstream media is not trustworthy. But in general, the mainstream media does get it, don't you think, Joey?
Yeah. Like, I mean, we have lots of criticism about the media. That's what we're essentially our mission statement. And I think that there's a lot of people that have criticism about the media as well. But at the end of the day, we rely on them to drag the stuff out of people, to the fact checking. Your ordinary person is not going to have any chance of doing that painful job of calling people and comparing dates and talking to people that might actually know until you have knitted together a story. And I think that's the thing that people forget. Like, it would be very easy for a group such as ourselves to just go, yeah, this passes the vibe check, and that's good enough for us. So we're going with the headline on this one. People, strap in. Let's see what happens. And that would be just absolute chaos for media if that's how it ran. And that's why any sort of sniff of it here, people get really like, oh, come on, fucking pull your head in.
Interesting in the chat, there's a few people who aren't that stoked on the media, which is fine. I guess I think compared to a lot of places in the world, compared to America and stuff that has like you can see the partisanness even in their mainstream media, we're served pretty well. Of course, it's not perfect, and I mean, I think that can be best seen in people like Jack Tame, who's probably one of the ones at the top. That it doesn't matter whether you're on team red or team blue or team whatever else. If you need to have a new one torn, he will tear. And it just doesn't matter who it is. I want to wrap up the story with.
Comparisons. Sorry, just real quick comparisons when we talk about our media. Have a look at Australia. Have a look what they have to deal with Murdoch and his influence in Australia the UK and the US. And I think it is only by luck and a bit of pluck that we have kept him out of the New Zealand news sphere, and must always be aware of that. So yeah,
but we
we'll
did
always,
lose TV3.
we'll always
though.
have criticism. Yeah,
We lost
Yeah,
TV3,
and-
and I'm thinking maybe that money could have been helpful. But I guess if you're going to corrupt TV3, like or News Hub, there was no point then if that was the case. If we were in silence
Yeah,
on
is
half
it-
the issues, then I don't want their money in our economy.
that's a hell of a question. Is it better to have TV3
Mm,
dead or corrupted?
yeah.
Ugh.
We got I think this conversation could then go all the way back to the merger, because if they had have done what they were trying to do, and it was not going to be good for some people within the public broadcasters, but bring some of those newsrooms together, follow a BBC model, no adverts on TV1, that then straight away frees up the advertising revenue for other channels, could have helped TV3. But yeah, there was some concerns that Murdoch was going to get involved with News Hub, but never did. So I think overall it's a good thing. But I mean, it makes life harder for me, Chewy, trying to find clips to show on this freaking thing. They could have thought of me. There's one more part about the story, and it's just news that's come out today, right? So we've had these rumors, these lies, these racist tropes about Haitians over the last 3 to 5 weeks. Well, Haitian immigrant groups call for the arrest of Donald Trump and JD Vance. Donald Trump and JD Vance have had criminal charges filed against them over their false claims about Haitian immigrants eating people's pets in the town of Springfield, Ohio. The Haitian Bridge Alliance made the filing on Tuesday in response to the Republican presidential candidate and his running mate repeating the claims in recent weeks after Trump raised it in his ABC debate with Kamala Harris. The citizens-initiated charges brought against Trump and Vance include disrupting public services, making false alarms, 2 counts of telecommunication harassment, aggravated menacing, and complicity. The advocacy group is asking the Ohio court to affirm that there is a probable cause that Trump and Vance committed the crimes and to issue arrest warrants for both of them. Trump and Vance have knowingly spread a false and dangerous narrative by claiming that Springfield, Ohio Haitians community is criminally killing and eating neighbors' dogs and cats, and killing and eating geese, a statement read. They accuse Springfield's Haitians of bearing deadly disease. They repeated such lies during the presidential debate, at campaign rallies, during interviews on national television, and on social media. Now, I don't think many people are going to go, so they'll be locked up for this. But it is interesting. I've often thought about political speech. When you get up there and you make false statements, no one's ever held accountable for it. So I'm interested as to where it goes, if anywhere. But that's all. Emily, any thoughts around that?
No, I'm kind of sick of it, and I would rather just have the US election over and done with so we can stop talking about these guys, because I cannot imagine them keeping Trump for another 4 years so he can run for president. Just get him out of there. The Republicans have to be sick of him at this point.
He has said in an interview recently that if he loses this time around, he won't run again. I don't think that's true. I think if he can walk and talk, he'll be running again if he loses, and I'm here for that. To watch him screw up the Republican Party tenfold. I am here for it. Joey, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I wouldn't believe Trump on that. It's so clear that him and his kids want to build a dynasty at all costs.
Yeah.
They want to be the right-wing, gilded asshole Kennedy family, which is just bizarre. But to echo what Emily says, yeah, as much as a political tragic I am, I just wanted to rip through it, to get it done, to just put it in the rear view mirror, and hopefully put Trump in the rear view mirror. I think if he gets beaten again, I don't know, is he self-aware enough to sort of go, I seem to have done some damage here. Everyone that I speak to over in the States is worried about what happens if he loses, and they're also worried about what happens if he wins.
Yeah, I don't know which will be better. I don't know if it'll be better if,
Yeah.
like if he loses, there's going to be an uproar that you would hope would die away before the 4-year term is up. If he wins, then you've got Trump for at least a period of those 4 years. He's an incredibly old, unhealthy man. There's every chance he wouldn't make the 4 years.
He said yesterday, I think yesterday, he said recently that he would end sanctions on Russia and Iran, of all places. So, I mean, I saw that as a big green flag of like, please interfere in our elections. Please. We are going to see some of the most unhinged AI-driven nonsense in the coming weeks to try and influence people. And it's going to come out of those two countries. The other thing since we're talking about the US elections, the other thing I saw that was interesting is 740 military leaders and foreign affairs leaders have endorsed Kamala Harris in an open letter in the last 2 or 3 days. Flag level military leaders, rear admirals, joint chiefs of staff, all of that sort of thing. And that the letter is blunt, where they said that we cannot trust our democracy and our world position in the hands of a man with the temperament of Trump. I'm paraphrasing a little bit there, but and I'm surprised that that's not doing the numbers that I would have really expected. I've seen it doing the rounds in sort of geopolitical forums and that
You're
sort
too
of thing.
busy
But that's
talking
not
about eating cats and dogs. more important.
exactly.
This is the whole thing with the right, though. They want to distract you from the shit that's actually important, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
What's that tactic called? The dead cat tactic? You know, you go down, you slam a dead cat on the boardroom table because you're in control of the conversation. Everybody's going to be talking about the dead cat, not the fact that you just did a big shit in the corner. That sort of thing.
This is news to me, Chewy. It sounds like a highly valuable thing to continue to follow, though, the dead cats. Let's get to some of these super chats, shall we? Thank you, Peter, for the super chat. Just wanted to note the mahi of all the Dunedinites who campaigned to keep Aurora in public hands. Council voted 13-2 against sale. Also, welcome, Emily. Yeah, I saw that on Aaron Hawking's Twitter feed today. He was saying, and of course, it was Vandervis and I don't know, people from Dunedin.
It was always going to be Vandervis. The man votes against everything.
Yeah. I am struggling.
I think you could replace him on our council with just like a core flute sign that says no. And it would probably save the city a lot of money because that core flute sign couldn't harass people at the customer service centre. Yes, Pat, you seem agitated.
I've lost batteries from my mouse, so I'm going to leave the set and go find some batteries, and you're going to keep going with the super chats. I'll be back in a sec.
Oh, okay. This is a smooth operation tonight. This is great. Mr. Arvids, $2 super chat. Welcome to the show, Emily. Yay. Peter with the $2 super chat. If the broadcast vans are rocking, don't come and knocking. Yes, we will definitely lower the tone at Waitangi. Obviously, a very somber, important occasion. I will be making dick and fart jokes probably the whole time. So that's all good. Brian mentions you better get your ferry tickets, Pat, on the remaining ferry.
I can see that. I talked about
I wouldn't
that last
get on
time,
that
actually.
ferry.
Well, the thing about it is you also got to pay an extra like $100 to get insurance in case the ferries aren't working. Thanks, Nicola. You know? So anyway.
I mean, wouldn't that be great? Me broadcasting solo from Waitangi, and now the story is the foundation document of our nation, and also we fucking told you so. And Pat stuck in Picton.
Has she ever ridden that ferry? Like, has she ever come to the South Island at all? She ever tested it out before she cancelled that deal?
Has. Okay. I can verify personally that she has been in the South Island because I was flying to Auckland once, and my wife and I were walking behind someone that had just arrived at the airport in a Jaguar limousine, and it was a bald-headed man and someone with long brown hair. And my wife said, "Wouldn't that be funny if it's Christopher Luxon?" And it fucking was. And we were on the same flight, and like I just had I can't say anything. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to hold my tongue the whole time. And
that would have
how
just
that
been
happened.
so.
Oh,
Assuming just sitting behind him and just poking his head. I don't know.
when we're
put your
talking
foot
about how
where the window
self-aware,
is.
when we're talking about how self-aware this man is, right? He stood up and held up everybody getting off the plane so he could talk to the pilot. And I just wanted to go, move, motherfucker, we want off.
Mr. Arvid says, I'll start saving now. BHN demonstration, anyone? Citizen Gold also said, got you covered. So there's our $21 from yesterday. That we didn't get because we showed that thing. Frosty says 17 minutes and 2 seconds late fee. So we get $2 for the 2 seconds late part of it.
I don't like that conversion rate.
Clueless in the US, yes they are. Bill says late fee, frickin' cast issues, back to the PC. I'm assuming that's meaning casting to your TV, that kind of cast, rather than a broken arm cast, or maybe a flock of actors. Is it flock of actors? We could say troop of actors cast.
A cast of actors?
Cast of actors. Because IKEA says Haitian group have filed charges against Trump and JD over it. Yep, that's what we just showed before. Free Soul, both he and Trump are married to immigrants. Of course they are. Gareth, thank you for your super chat. Chewy's catchphrase for Luxon works just as well for JD Vance. He's not very good at this. Correct. Frosty says, thank you for the super chat. Fun fact, Murdoch started here in New Zealand. Keith Holyoke kicked him out by doing a bill making sure foreigners couldn't own any more than 20% of New Zealand media. Karen Plunkett is our Fox News. Yeah, sort of. I mean, love them or hate them, Fox News has an amount of professionalism around the way they look and sound. Maybe not their content, but that is a part of it. And finally, because I care, thank you for the super chat. Same thing happening here with working from home rather than ferry or utility. There you go. All right, that's it. We're done. Yeah, I had another story we didn't do tonight, talking about how better it is for people to work from home, how they don't have to pay extra money to go into their workplace, and they call it an office tax. You think about your bus ride or your car ride or your parking or that kind of stuff. So that's fine. Everyone just wants a 15% pay rise, and then we'll come back to work. Maybe that's what they got to do. Let's keep going, shall we? Because this is an interesting story about, we have two very compromised MPs at the moment. We might have more than that, but two in particular. Nicole McKee on guns and Casey Costello on cigarettes. This is a story, or tobacco. This is a story from stuff from last night. Let's have a look what they've got to say.
Welcome back. Associate Health Minister Casey Costello has had her first big meeting with health workers who are still fuming over the government's repealing the smoke-free generation law. Castello has defended the repeal and continues to deny the move was influenced by big tobacco. Political reporter Glenn McConnell has the details.
Casey Costello, the Minister for Vapes and Smokes, wants to make one thing clear.
Could they be any more
Straight out of
blatant?
gates.
Like vapes and smokes.
Oh.
Any more blatant or blunt than that?
I have not had any conflict of interest in this area. I have no involvement with the tobacco industry. And I've had no involvement with the tobacco industry.
The Associate Health Minister is on a mission to earn some trust with the health sector, but she still has some work to do after repealing the smoke-free generation law.
I don't need a tax break so that people can die down the next 10 years from repeal of the policy.
Man.
Thanks someone
Today was
for
a
saying
start
it.
with her first big meeting in front of angry health researchers.
It's funny, eh? Angry voters, you understand. Oh, you changed the world for us, angry lobbyists. But these are healthcare professionals who are researchers. To have the word angry in front of this group of people, you must be a different kind of evil. These people are people who have committed their lives to helping the health of a nation. To make a room angry, what the hell have you done? Oh, I remember you've committed tens of thousands more New Zealanders to die from smoking-related illnesses. That's what you've done.
But even the Health Coalition moderator was left unconvinced that tobacco companies hadn't played a role in crafting this government's smoking policy.
There's a number of really close dots between her and her party and Philip Morris, and it doesn't take a lot of imagination to see how the documents and the policies of the tobacco industry have flowed through.
It all comes down to advice Castello's office passed on to officials while repealing the smoke-free plan. She was unable to say where that advice came from. Health researchers say it sounded like tobacco company talking points.
I just found it, Jerry. I got on a bus, and I got off the bus, and there was this manila folder there. I was like, oh, it looks pretty good. Just found it. I can't tell you where can't tell you where this advice came from that I acted on. I don't know, somewhere, some rando.
There was a
Do you
range of
remember the
information.
X-Files?
I do
Do
remember.
you remember the X-Files? Yeah, it was
do.
a smoking man. It was a smoking man
Right.
on the bus.
Right, very, very good.
To read, and where all of that information came from, I wasn't able to determine.
Regardless of where the advice came from, Castello argues the smoke-free repeal was based on sound evidence. One of her key arguments is that she says the tobacco industry...
But he didn't say what sound evidence. It may have been sound evidence on the income for the tobacco group. It could be based on that sound evidence. He didn't say sound evidence from the health community. He just said sound evidence, which is questionable because we know they don't take into account evidence or advice ever. So I'm questioning that.
Except if it turns up on their desk.
underground.
Say again, Emily?
Except if it turns up on their desk.
Yes.
I'll use that.
Or on
By an
the
unknown
in the
party.
left on the seat of the taxi she's just getting out of.
Yeah.
To a black market controlled by gangs. She says she's seen that herself.
Now, this is the other part that's beautiful, guys. So we don't want tobacco on the black market. We want to be able to regulate it and keep it safe. So when are we going to have the cannabis conversation? So when's that on the table for making things safe and not having a black market? I just, I know sometimes politics and consistency don't go hand in hand, but if the idea is genuinely about keeping things out of the black market, I'm feeling a cannabis conversation needs to come up at some time in the not too distant future. This has got about 30 seconds to go. We try and get to the end of it, eh?
To a black market controlled by gangs. She says she's seen that herself.
I also saw, and I could take you to the shops that provide illicit tobacco. They are out there and they're trading, and we need to stop the demand.
It's pretty interesting that her wish list seems to pretty clearly align with the wish list of the tobacco lobby.
She even ended up with a report in her office that some might say could have been written by tobacco lobbyists.
Big claims which Castello denies.
Well, I haven't seen the tension between the public health sector and the government so high.
There will need to be a few more meetings to win support from these doctors.
It's true though, eh? I mean, the tension between those two places, the guys who are saying we want health for the nation and the people who are the ones to provide the funding to the guys health for the nation. I do have another clip to play because they talked about this in the working group last night. But first up, Emily, got any thoughts around it?
Oh boy, do I.
Do I?
Because they did this in their first, 3 months?
Yeah, certainly
of
100
being
days.
elected, and I just don't understand. I was blown away that is the thing that they went for. Of all the things to target, why would you, yeah, sure, we need money, but like you say, cannabis reform, if they'd done that, they would have made so much on taxes on that, and they would have taxed it heavily, and there's already a market for it, and it's already gone around, so you might as well just put it into the economy. But the other thing too is, this is brownie points for them too. This would have been 2025 during their term, right?
Yeah.
23, yeah. They could have got brownie points for this and been like, look, first country in the world to do this. Why would you get rid of that? That's good PR. And they've done so much other crap like this where it's what are you doing? It's purposely bad PR for you, but they just keep making bad decisions after decisions. I don't get it.
And they need the money.
I think that's what makes it so jarring for me, right? For most of my, over half my life, it seems like every government has been looking at smoking and going, we need to phase it out. We need to phase it out. There's always been anti-smoking campaigns of various flavors, but everyone was pulling in the same direction. And this seems to be the one time that there's been a lurch to, yep, no, that's enough. And it has to be these guys. And it has to be these guys when they are so full of tobacco lobbyists. And Castello is just the most obvious one, the most blatant one. And I say that in a world where Bishop exists, the Bish. He comes from a family of tobacco lobbyists. which is a crazy family industry to be involved in.
I just want to read this out because I've gone back and found the script on the side here of the thing. Just to read this out. Her key argument is to say that the tobacco industry was being driven underground to a black market controlled by gangs. She says that she's seen it herself. I also saw, and I could take you to the shops that provide illicit tobacco. They are out there and they're trading, and we need to stop the demand. Okay, you ready? Here we go. She's seen that herself. I also saw it. I could take you to the shops that they provide cannabis. They are out there and they're trading, and we need to stop the demand. I mean, it could literally be the same thing, but they're happy to re-legalize one. So surely you do them both. Surely.
She's already said as well in I don't know, it was a different news story, but she said that it was like what they call it when they come out of Parliament and someone talks to her. This is my Parliament literacy for you.
Nice.
But they were asking her and they were like, can you take us to the shops? And did you report it that there were these illegal? And she's like, oh, no, I just mentioned it to my constituent or whatever it was.
Right.
It's like, so you didn't report this? Like, they called her out on it. Like, that's really strange.
The working group last night also had a bit of a crack at this. And why don't we just go to them talking about the same issue, and we'll say the apparent, from the outside looking in, conflicts of interest that some of our MPs, some of our ministers are facing in government.
The latest Ombudsman reprimand for Associate Health Minister Casey Costello is for her handling of a mystery document containing tobacco industry-friendly ideas. Chief Ombudsman Peter Boshier says he is, and I quote, concerned the Associate Minister was unable to produce any records about the provenance of the notes, and has, again, quote, taken the rare step of notifying the Chief Archivist about the record-keeping issues in this case. Who is the Associate Minister protecting? New Zealanders or the tobacco industry?
This is the part you normally say, Chewy, go King. Is that what you normally say here? Is that the part? Something like that?
Or the tobacco industry?
I haven't got the talking points from Michelle Bogue on this one.
Oh, okay.
You see, this is the classic Damien Grant. I really don't have anything to say, so I'll attempt to make a stupid joke to just deflect from I don't really have. This is kind of unanswerable.
You got left on the email list, did you? It's Mike Hoskins, you, and Wayne Eagleson.
I'm not on the list, and so I don't know what the talking point is. I'm quite stressed.
Okay, so just whatever the tobacco industry tells you.
Yes, I don't know.
Pareto's law says that the most obvious answer is usually the correct one. So what you've got to do is follow the money.
Yes.
Who's got more money, tobacco or New Zealand? Definitely tobacco.
Right? Yeah. Mark, how weak is Chris Luxon as Prime Minister that he has zero power to demand basic transparency from either Associate Minister?
Yeah, I think you're dead right. And if we look what happened to Melissa Lee and Penny Simmons, bang, they're gone burgers. Costello, Minister for Tobacco.
Yes.
What has happened here? If she was a National Party MP, she'd be gone.
Right.
I don't think there's any question about that.
Yes.
But Luxon is too scared of Winston.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
Agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm scared of Winston.
There is the end of the clip. But Chewy, you've said it for a long time. The leadership, no leadership model, not very good at this. And as they say, national MPs who are ministers are gone. Act New Zealand first. They stick around through all their apparent, from the outside that looks in, conflicts of interest. Chewy, why don't you jump in first?
It's almost like I was thinking about this, right? The government that we have and the effect that they're having. It's almost like Luxon's treating this as a true three-way equal arrangement, and it's not that he doesn't realize that he's the big stick. It's I hated that as soon as I said it, Pat. You don't need to.
You said stick,
saw your face.
You said stick. He's a big stick.
Sorry,
right.
I mumbled.
Yeah.
I mumble. And I think it comes down to something that I've always said. He's not a politician. He's not good at this.
Yeah.
He got torn to shreds in the negotiation between Winston and Seymour, both of whom, like Winston has been doing this for longer than fucking water has existed.
To everyone as well. To everyone.
Yeah. He has dog walked everybody that he's been in a negotiation room with him. And whatever you've got to say about Winston, he's a fucking survivor and he's good at it. You know, and Seymour, I think, for all of his debate club nerdism, would have had an objective, and he would have been laser focused on that. And all that we know that Luxon's laser focused on, as much as he says that it's outcomes and that sort of thing, there's one outcome, and that's I want my knighthood, I want Prime Minister on my CV, and I don't want to talk to the media anymore, and that's it. So his objective was to form a government, and he did that at any cost.
And I think Joey,
any political operator would have seen the Treaty Principles Bill as absolute nuclear waste.
Yep.
And he took it. He was like, yeah, okay, sure.
I think what you're seeing is a and I don't like calling him a businessman because he hasn't really started businesses. He's been on boards. He's a board member. But, you know, the mentality of someone who runs businesses, CEOs who runs businesses, is any means to get the deal I want for my company done. It's a business mentality. It's a boardroom mentality. It's a what do you call it when they take a violent takeover of another company? I can't think of the right word, but it's a hostile takeover. You know, anything we need to do to increase our share prices by 45 cents, we will do it. And it's almost like that's the attitude he's taken into this. Like anything I need to do to make sure that we are the preeminent company on the stock market, we'll do it. And this is where it's kicking him in the ass. Like we found out yesterday, Winston doesn't want ferries that are not rail enabled. Seymour wants a public-private partnership, and National are stuck there going, can we please make a deal because it's getting worse every day? And they want to spend as little as possible. And it's like, dude, you guys made this bed. Hang on, picture it, bed. Winston. Okay. Now you got a line. It's pretty ugly. Emily?
As soon as you said bed, all I had in my head was that Kanye West video where it's all the naked people like Trump and Taylor Swift and Kim Kardashian, whoever it is. That's all I thought of.
And Christopher Luxon, he's in there as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, so just imagine that with Kanye West in the middle, and then you've got David Seymour. Just go look it up and then, picture it. It'd be great.
It looks like you might have another picture to draw tomorrow.
Oh, Jesus, no. Someone else can do that. Sorry, I'm passing that one on. I'm not getting on their radar for that.
What are your thoughts about the leadership of Luxon?
I don't get it. I think he's getting absolutely steamrolled by the other two, and he just every opportunity he's just showing how incompetent he is. I don't like him. I did like him at one point when he was campaigning. I was kind of like, oh, he's got dad vibes. I could do this. Like, he's not that bad. And then it came to the, I was just like, I didn't vote for him, but like, I was like, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. Like John Key kind of, endorsed him and stuff. So I was like, maybe he's not so bad. And then just literally the second they got that, well, not even them. As soon as they were elected, the whole coalition thing was a mess. And I was like, cool, this is what we're in for. Great.
I think what you've seen, what you pointed out, is probably this idea, Chewy, that no matter who gets in to run the country, it doesn't change that much. Like whether it's a red leader or a blue leader at the top, it doesn't change that much. But these guys have had like it's like they've got in and they've put the accelerator down, and what they've done in this first 12 months, you normally wouldn't get seen done in the first 2 terms. And that's what it feels like has happened. And I wonder if that's what we're seeing when someone might go, oh, well, he's got some experience. We'll see what happens. And then he gets in and it's like every bad policy in the world we have right now. Whatever it is, just gone, or bought in if it's the other case.
And look, I'm still of the mind that they're front loading all the bad shit. They front load all of this, and we spend a year talking about it, and then 2 years forgetting about it. public gets sick of it. I think that's something we're going to be really, really aware of. Emily, you mentioned John Key. I didn't think it was possible to look back on John Key's government with fondness, but this shower of utter cunts has just really focused that of like, well, he wasn't that bad. You know, I saw some stuff with Chris Finlayson around the treaty this week, and went, yeah, okay, that man did a good job. Like, and that was part of that was a national government. It was a National Party member. And he did a good job with treaty negotiations. Does that, in the world that we live in today, does that sound like an alien sentence? Because
well, I think the previous national government, I think, were still part of that very central. Like I've always said that in New Zealand, it's always very central. It's never really far left and far right. You got your ACT Party and your Greens Party who kind of, fit those roles of, pushing us more further right or further left, which sometimes is good and bad. But then you've got your centres in the middle who are just slightly different. Whereas I think this time around, they've completely, I don't know if it's just a different time and space after COVID, but they've proven that entirely wrong. Like this government's very right-leaning in a lot of things. So it's scary to be, like, it feels more like America where it's like Republicans get in, you've got right-wing policies. Democrats get in, you've got more left-wing policies. And that's a very scary place to be in.
It's also because they're acting in such a way that's so unique to a first-year government. We've only had, I think it's 2 one-term governments, and we haven't had one for 50 years. But because these guys are doing this so differently, I wonder if that kind of throws all those odds out the window. Like they haven't been calm and just gone casually and just kind of like ruled for everybody, governed for everybody. And I wonder if that's going to make the next election more interesting, because if it's not your regular 1 year or one term, first term, then you can't go back and go, well, all the other first terms, they just get through to a second term because it's different. It's a different vibe about them. And I was thinking, Chewy, what you're saying about looking back fondly on John Key is like all the people in America looking back on George W. Bush thinking he was a Rhodes Scholar compared to Donald Trump, it's the same sort of vibes.
Yeah, I think as well of like, one of the things that I always thought about Key's government was that it was a government by opinion poll, that he was constantly just seeing how the wind was blowing. And that was kind of his skill set, because whether I agreed with where the wind was blowing, it very much seemed like he would follow that. Where this government seems to have just tightened their hood, put their head down and gone, well, if we could just survive this, let's get all of this shit done. And that, I think, has very definitely come from Luxon's background, his corporate background of like, move fast, break stuff, see what's still working. Let's see how close to the bone we can cut things. And then that becomes the new baseline. And he's not doing it with an airline. He's not doing it with deodorant. He's doing it with a country, with a health system. It's madness. I see they've just made an announcement of Kaingaroa shedding another 400 staff. Someone flicked me a message. This isn't in the public service, but someone just flicked me a message that the big freezing works in Timaru has called an all-staff meeting out of nowhere in the middle of the day. So that sounds like huge job cuts coming. And look, that has happened in Timaru multiple times. I remember what it did as a kid. Like suddenly everybody's dad was out of work at my school. So, this will cut the heart out of a place like Timaru. So the cascading effects of what this government has set off, and as much as they want to point at Labor and go, it's Labor's fault because of COVID or whatever, it's not. It's not.
All right, let's we've got one more other story to talk about tonight, but it's just another tech story. There's no video to go with it, so we'll get to it after this. Some super chats. Kiwi Bird says Castello's reputation has gone up in smoke.
Hey.
But I see what you did there, Kiwi Bird. I'm picking up what you're throwing down. Tawhiri, thank you for the super chat. In 1977, Philip Morris in New Zealand was investigated by cops for using prizes to encourage cigarette addiction by forming words from letters in packets. I think that was back in the day when you got bubblegum cards with baseball players, and I think some tobacco companies were doing that as well.
That's
and they got
scary.
Yeah, pretty terrifying. It's what they call it at the supermarket. They call it pester power. When they have all these things for the kids to win things at the counter, you got to spend a certain. It's called pester power. It's a genuine marketing thing. So the kids pester their parents to spend another $3 because then they get over the $20 and then they can get their little toy. Free Soul sounds like she's blowing smoke again. I see what you did there. Mr. Arvids, there is nothing to get here. They're corrupt and care about money more than people. Hard to argue. Peter says Luxon has the mentality of a bully, stomping down on the powerless of New Zealand while cozying up to anyone with a modicum of power. I can't remember who we were talking to, Chewy, but someone pointed out that since he's been Prime Minister, he's spent more time out of New Zealand than any kind of first term Prime Minister or something. And he does seem to like that life about going and pressing the flesh, not to get back into naked pictures in a bed about pressing, which is not what we're talking about. I knew I wanted to cut you off, Chewy. No, I'm quite sure. Okay, let's have a look at this. I'd be keen to get you guys' interest on this because it hasn't made the same sort of waves I thought. What I do, guys, is I often prep the show in the afternoon, and sometimes I have to have a bit of a guess, and I look what's on TVNZ website, and I go, oh, yeah, that'll be featured in the news tonight. It's kind of really just slipped by. No one's really had a look at it. That charter schools revived as bill passes final reading. Legislation reintroducing charter schools has passed its final reading in Parliament. The third reading on Wednesday saw passionate speeches both for and against the bill, which revives the alternative education model. The change, promised at National's coalition agreement with the ACT Party, has been spearheaded by ACT leader and Associate Education Minister. God, how much does that feel like a different universe? David Seymour. He told the House groups, including the Iwi Chairs Forum, had written to him expressing strong support for the reintroduction of charter schools. They, the Iwi Chairs Forum, know that communities know more about how to engage their children than the people in Wellington most of the time. And so we're going to invite people and communities to start up schools, and they're going to get the money the state school would have spent on the same child at a state school if, and this is important, high standards are met. Seymour said charter schools would be required to have high standards of attendance achievement and financial probity. I don't know what that word means. Probity. This is the pushback. Green MP Lawrence Zunan said the legislation was not about education but privatisation. Who actually benefits from this bill? It's not the children, it's not the teachers, and it's certainly not the parents that they care so much about. It's the privatised companies, the overseas companies that will want to come here and take New Zealand money. National MP Carl Bates said some charter schools would be non-profit, some, arguing, and mind you, non-profit doesn't mean you can't earn a shit ton of money. It just means you have to have a zero-sum balance at the end of the financial year. That's all it means. So don't be fooled. Don't be fooled, baby. Oh, you know that. We better get that Maybach. We've got some money left over. Let's get that Mercedes Maybach to put us at a zero balance as a company car. Some charter schools will be non-profit, arguing this undercut the opposition's criticism that the alternative education model was about making money. They're not for profit, but the person who owns the company is drawing a $300,000 salary off it to make sure it ends up at a zero balance. This is about lifting student achievement. The opposition are trying to characterise this bill as about being about the market, as opposed to being about ensuring we deliver opportunities for lifting student achievement here in New Zealand. Te Pāti Māori MP Takuta Ferris said the Iwi Chairs Forum only supported the legislation because it funded extra models built on self-determination. it funded education models. Tino rangatiratanga models of education have been in existence since 1981, and you've never supported them. Don't go fluffing your feathers like you're doing something good now for it now, because you're not. The legislation passed with support from National Act New Zealand First, with Labour, the Greens and Te Pāti Māori opposed it. I just want to say one thing before I throw it to you guys. This whole thing about lifting student achievement. This government at the moment is making huge noises about how we need to fix the curriculum in New Zealand. The curriculum in all sorts of areas needs to be fixed. We need a world-class curriculum. We need to do it and have the best in the world so our children are the best. That's their argument. A charter school doesn't need to use the New Zealand curriculum. That's part of being a charter school. So on one hand, the government's saying, everyone's been doing it wrong. We know the way to have the best school. We're going to fix up curriculum documents. So all these schools end up being at a world-class level. Start a charter school? No, you don't have to use what we're saying now is a world-class system. It just seems to be a bit of a hypocrisy there. Chewy?
I was reading a story earlier this week because, of course, the charter school program has been used for quite a long time in the US, and that's where Seymour's getting a lot of his ideas from. It's real funny when you look into it. Like I'm looking at it as most Minnesota charter schools are failing to make good on their promises. Minnesota created charter schools to be more independent than their public school counterparts, allowing them to innovate and better help struggling students. But the lack of oversight often leads to financial mismanagement and fewer resources when things go wrong. Stop me if this sounds really familiar. The idea born in Minnesota was a daring one: create an entirely new type of public school, independent and unshackled from the constraints of traditional bureaucracy. These charter schools would be led by teachers and community members. They would be incubators for new ideas and methods. They would boost academic achievement of students struggling in regular schools. The idea quickly spread. 45 US states have followed Minnesota's lead in this, and the outcomes for students is pitiful. The amount of these schools that just shot out of nowhere and disrupt the students' lives as they try to get into other schools, the absolute failure of academic achievement, people years and years behind the curve because of these guys. And that's not what we hear from Seymour. And then last time we tried charter schools here, just one example. What was it? A guy called Alwyn Poole. Last time round, the Attorney General found deficiencies in his handling of the charter schools that he was running with public money, such as the school board authorizing a $450,000 payment to a trust run by his wife. Like this is like when you're talking about, we're not for profit. People like not for profits. We've got $450,000 of taxpayer money left over.
Yeah.
We've got to pay this. We had to pay an invoice. We had to pay an invoice to my wife, and the money's gone. The system works. Like this is what we're opening it up to. And there might look. This is not all schools. This is what it opens up. It opens up the opportunity for this happening. Like, have we had any principals of public schools suddenly move into a mansion, do an outdoor pool, and don't get the gym built? No, we don't have that. It does not happen. But with charter schools, it could happen. The system works.
Emily.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. I want to like charter schools. I do. I really want to like them because I agree with the innovation point of it. Like there is some cool stuff happening. I think it was somewhere. It's always America. I mean, it's the only place that has it. But there is a school that's doing really well, and it's very much based on technology, student-led curriculums, or like going at their own pace. And you've got year 11s, 12s, and 13s that are doing college-level papers and projects. before they even get to college, and it's working really, really well. There's probably some holes in it, but it's working really well, and I'd love to see something like that here. But I don't know whether or not just opening up the floodgates and going, anyone can come here and do it, is the right way to do it. Like, I think it's very targeted the way that you do it. You have one school that's doing maybe something, and then you allow them to do that. Then after they've proven, even if it's come from overseas, that they've proven that this works. So you're not just going, you guys figure it out. Like, that concerns me quite a bit.
I think the argument for charter schools is actually an argument for opening up some flexibility in public schools.
Yeah.
Like, if they can, if they're good enough to be a charter school and they're hitting those sort of things, why can they not be part of the public system? I don't understand, and I don't understand why they get so much more public money per pupil to get those achievements.
But you say that,
then
you say
the
that.
argument of like, okay, so let's give more money to public schools. We've had the discussion that like charter schools could be great for Māori, as an example. You know, they could do a school how they want to, and I wonder how ACT would react to that. The only thing that's ever held up is Vanguard as a military school.
I just want to double check, Chewy, because we've said this a few times. But Seymour said today, and I'll just read it again, like that they get more money per student.
I remember a figure of
people in
like
communities to
50,000.
start schools up, and they're going to get the same money the state would have spent on the same child at a state school if, and this is important, high standards are met. So I mean, I don't know, is there something in that? Because we have said that a few times. We want to try and be accurate. I'm not saying that what we've been saying is wrong, but it seems that what he's saying now is it's going to be the same money. But I understand the reports you've read as well, that I've seen them, that say it's so much more. So
yeah, it was something like 10 to 13,000 per school year per pupil, compared to, well, I think it was closer to 50 grand for a charter school. Like, if Seymour's telling the truth there, then it removes one of my arguments. I don't want to see an unfair comparison of here's a public school that gets fuck all money, and we're going to compare it to this school that gets gold-plated treatment.
This is what we do. We do things live. We're doing it live. The National and ACT. This is an OIO. Shows the eye-watering true cost of charter schools.
Yeah, this is where I got that figure from.
I guess what we need to do is we say they're saying it's going to be different. You know, there's not going to be this tomfoolery. But up till right now, National and ACT experiment with charter schools that ran from 2014 to 2018 cost up to $48,000 per student annually, more than 6 times the average funding spent on students in state schools. New OIA document released to NZDI show. When adjusted for inflation, that is more than $60,000 per student in today's money. In comparison, today, public schools are funded at around $9,000 per student. So that's 6 times the amount. So I just want to, you know, Micho, I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to trying to be accurate. That's what it's saying then. What he's saying today is it's going to be the same. So that means they're going to get 9,000 per student. I mean, that sounds a pretty tough way to run it. If you've got to do all of the funding yourself, you know, that means a school of, I mean, my maths is never going to work. 200 kids, what is that? $180,000? 200 times 9,000? Oh, 1.8 million. I was close. 180,000. 1.8 million. Oh, you know,
go to a maths charter school.
1.8 million, 7 classrooms. I don't know. Maybe that's possible. But compare that to, let's do this then. Compare that to 200 students times 60,000. If it was that, 12 million. So that would be 12 million versus 1.8 million in today's money for a 200 school. There's your $450,000 going to your wife's trust for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Anything you want to wrap up with, the M? Anything you want to talk about with that or share? This is tangent time. Chewy always keeps us around for about an extra 40 minutes to do tangent time.
I can help with that. Can we make that 80 minutes? Yeah, I don't know. I had an argument, but I can't remember what it was now. So that's right.
While you're having a think, so a couple of super chats. Wooming says charter schools equals cha-ching for the owners. Thank you for the super chat.
Oh, that's what it. Yeah, that's
Mr.
what it was.
Arvid says Taku Ferris is so based. Yep, go Em. That was it. That's what it is.
I was going to say that they're cutting. Well, they're not cutting funding, but they're not obviously funding education as much as they need to. You know, cutting all the back staff, which makes lives for teachers much easier. But then they're funding charter schools instead. So why don't they just put the money into the public system? Like,
yeah.
If it was like about privatization and bringing money in, like their money in to build schools, that kind of fits their MO. But they're not doing that. They're taking money from the public sector and putting it into private schools. And that doesn't make any sense. And it's just annoying because the education sector needs more money.
I also wonder if they'll get their successors. Maybe let's be generous and say it's not the money that gets them there. It's the smaller classroom sizes. Now that's something that teachers have been going on about for decades. That to be effective teachers, they need smaller and smaller classrooms or more help in the classroom with teachers' assistants, that sort of thing, and they never get them. So if it turns out that there's charter schools have classroom sizes of 15 to 20 and everybody does really fucking well on the same amount of money, well, again, there's your answer. We need more teachers. We need more classrooms.
Yeah, but
to
that's
get more
not what's going to
teachers,
happen.
we need to train more teachers. We need to pay them. So it go round and round and round we go.
That's not going to happen, though. They're just going to say, oh, this charter school is doing well. Keep doing what you're doing. And they won't make any changes to the public sector. They won't use any of it as evidence. And you just have these, you know, like private schools, right? You've got these fantastic schools that have got, you know, so much money going into them. Insanely good results. But of course they are, because it's all private money. And it's the public sector just gets fucked over every fucking time. It pisses me off.
All right.
Welcome,
well,
comrade.
If you know anything about the show, we always leave pissed off, don't we, Chewy? If nothing else, you can be assured that we always leave pissed off. So well done, Emily. Welcome. Welcome to the team.
Thanks, guys.
I mean,
thanks. Appreciate it.
Last night I tried to leave on that little dog that was babies. I've got this today.
That's very funny.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
It's from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, eh? I remember that. What was it? Krang? Am I right? Krang?
Krang.
I really hope politicians see these things. Like you must know about these things because you're in the public eye, and someone has got to forward it.
Jacinda did it best because someone defaced one of her hoardings, gave her a gap tooth and all that kind of stuff. It's still her Facebook profile shot. She did it right. Chewy, if you're going to show something, I'm going to show something as well, because this was my favorite moment from last night's show. Let's have a listen to it.
Fresh-faced Simon Bridges talking about wokesters.
Yeah.
I wonder what's Simon up to now. Has he gone back to his yak farm, or what's
he is working for like Business Auckland? You know, they have that kind of the group that represents businesses in Auckland.
The happiest I ever saw Simon Bridges was when I think he was doing a TikTok or something on his yak farm. And I just wanted to go like this is when he was really hammering for leadership and to be prime minister and stuff like that. And I was just like, if you did more yak based videos, you'd have this in the fucking bag.
Mike says Chamber of Commerce. There you go.
I read that as Chamber of Romance for some reason, and I was like, "What?
That's what he's doing. He's working for the Chamber of Romance.
Chamber of Romance.
It's the prequel to the first Harry Potter film. It's the Chamber of Romance. Some real.
Simon Bridges in the Chamber of Romance.
I enjoy that. And here's something else I enjoyed. We haven't touched on this tonight. We probably will tomorrow. ANZ boss is pretty keen for capital gains tax. Says it makes sense. Luxon takes a crack at them tomorrow night.
What the fuck?
Night. I've already
just
put the
while
email.
I'm here,
I
did.
Of course, I have.
I did watch the full RNZ thing with her, and she did all right. She was believable, and it was actually nice. She did say that there should be some sort of capital gains tax or wealth tax, but like most people say, oh, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. But it was that weird little middle line of like she was praising it, and she was also not praising it. So it's like.
Obviously, one of the angles we'll run here, because we're very petty, Emily, is Luxon having another bitch about something. Have you got the yak farm? Look at you. So we're not going to get out of here till midnight. You watch.
Oh, he does look so happy. He looks like a normal human being.
No.
Yak. And that's what I mean. This one video humanized him.
Yeah.
He's got a little baby yak. How could you not vote for that?
Is that one Harry?
I don't think it's Harry.
He doesn't know who it is, though.
Oh, okay. Well, I nearly fell in a pod of poo.
Oh my gosh.
It's the
New
most
Zealand
Kiwi
politics.
commentary.
Oh, it's so good.
So good.
Emily, thanks for being here tonight. Mr. Arvid says, please come back. I enjoy having you here. So you've got you've got the blessing, like the Catholic blessing from I've enjoyed having you here. And because I care says the model costs more money, that isn't seen. That's the model when we're talking about whatever that charter school stuff is that we're talking about. So yeah, it's been great, Emily. Thanks for jumping on board and having a bit of a chat with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, no, that was good fun. And now I think it's time for us to wrap up the show. So let's do it the way we always do it.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have their hand out for rewards, while the many have to work at what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a sub and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by both Chewy and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
All right, team, that's us for another day. We'll be back tomorrow night again, live from 9 p.m. Not too much more to say than that, Chewy. That's goodbye from me. Chewy, anything you want to add?
It's been a great week. Good shows. Thank you for being here. Be nice to everybody over the weekend, and have a good dinner. That's all. That's my story.
You do know there's one more show this week, eh?
What's today?
Wednesday.
Oh, shit.
I've been doing the same thing all week. It must be the
I'm
something of the
so
year.
cooked. My brain is soup.
We'll see you tomorrow, Chewy. Emily, do you want to leave us with anything?
Maybe.
Yeah, eat healthy, whatever Chewy said. Something about have a good dinner. It's great.
Have a good weekend. Starting
All right,
on the
team.
thing.
Yeah, have a good weekend. It's Wednesday. Just who cares about the rest of the week?
Do it.
I'll see you tomorrow night from 9. As for other people, we'll wait and see. That's it for me. Hooroo, team.
Cheers, man.